But you can't just say, well, for everything, because then in nothing. It doesn't work. So this class is bringing a whole new level of attention to my understanding of psychology. If, like, when Derek carried his weight belt in, why did I get distracted by his weight belt? I don't know. I like picking up heavy things. It's fun for me, okay? When I'm reading my online class and somebody, I'm not going to point because it's embarrassing, only turns in half the work. Why do I pay attention? I got your back. I got your back. Let me know how I can help. Okay, but it's funny because how come I remember certain bits of the world? So, I was going to play this really cool TED Talk, except the guy was very boring, and he had this like, bad Italian accent. Not like a cool Italian accent, like a boring Italian accent. And it's just, ugh. And what he had to say was really cool. And I can say it in about 3 minutes versus his 12-minute TED Talk of him being boring. Okay? But, basically, something in the environment triggers your attention. Why do things in the environment trigger your attention? The word resonate is what you said. It resonates with you. Okay, so what does resonation mean? When something resonates, like this, it doesn't resonate very well because it's full of matcha today. Okay, but when something resonates, let's see what this is. This full or empty? A little bit more resonance. What does that mean? Vibration. Okay, when something resonates, it means it leaves a lasting vibration in the air. So if I ring a bell, ding, hey Google, play a doorbell sound. This is a doorbell. Okay, hear that resonance at the end of it? That resonance is the sound vibrates and continues vibrating. Your brain does the same thing. It resonates. If I activate a series of action potentials in your brain, they keep firing for a second or two. If they keep firing for a second or two, that, quote, resonates. And it's funny that people use that word, oh, it just resonates. That's literally how it works. And so, boring Italian guy puts up a flashing cube. Flash, 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 flash. If I put up a flashing cube, which I'm not going to do, because putting a flashing cube in front of a large group of people can cause what? Seizures. If your brain synchronizes with that flashing, what part of your brain would synchronize with the flashing? Occipital lobe. If your occipital lobe synchronizes with the flashing, if you are susceptible to epilepsy and do not have good valve control motion in your GABA receptors, not important, take physio, you could have a seizure. My buddy Jake has partial seizures very often. He drowned when he was a kid. He's always had seizures for most of his life now. And they're cyclical. Once he has a seizure, he's going to have seizures for the next 2 or 3 days, and then they subside, and then he's good for a while, and then then he starts having little absent seizures where he loses time. He keeps a watch, and he looks at his watch every couple minutes, because he needs to know when he's losing time. He has to pay attention to when he's losing time. There's a new medication that's coming out that he can actually inject in his nose right before he has a seizure, and he can actually prevent the seizure from happening. Very cool stuff. Yeah, and so it's experimental right now, but at the same time, he's on the clinical trial list because if he has too many little seizures, it causes a full-on fall down, grand mal wake up in the ER kind of seizure, which he doesn't like. He's my age. He can't live by himself. His dad is very old and dying of cancer, so it's just a whole deal. So he'd like to be able to medicate himself so he can at least not have to have a caregiver around there for him. Anyway, so the idea is just trying to figure out this idea of resonance. If I flicker a cube on this side, and I flicker a cube on this side, click, 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 how do I know which one you're paying attention to? Which one resonates? My occipital lobe over here will flicker at the same rate that this cube is flickering over here. And if I stick my little brain hat on you, what can I do? I can watch your occipital lobe flicker in sequence with the light flickering, or sweet. Sour is killer, okay? But then, so if I tell you to look at the one on the right, this side of your brain starts flickering. If I tell you to look at the one on the left, this side of your brain starts flickering in sequence with the flicker. So I really know which one you're actually looking at. What if I tell you to just stare at the center? No. It's depending on which one your eyes move to, depending on which way your brain flickers. So I can see which one you're looking at by measuring your brain flickering. That's a 20-minute TED Talk consolidated down to 4 minutes. Okay, so now, so I thought this was really interesting. So of course, I remember everything. So I remember watching a video in my human sexuality class years ago of when you meet someone, what do you look at? Okay. Well, this is actually cool stuff. Okay, I posted this. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. I'm not going to get copyright infringements for this. We'll see. Okay. YouTube doesn't care. Okay. Okay, YouTube doesn't care. I played Metallica, and the lawyers from Metallica said, you need to remove this from your live stream. Okay, why they had a Russian accent, I'm not sure. Okay, so it makes it sound stern in their email. So I'm going to hit my live stream really quickly here and stop streaming. I wish I could just hit pause. Well, I'm just going to do it anyway. So watch it.
This is Duke University. So my name is Jessica Yarsinski, and I'm an evolutionary biologist here at Duke, studying mating behavior at PFAL. All right, this is an image of the PFAL tracker. As you can see, there are two cameras. One camera records the actual eye of the bird, and the other camera records the scene in front of her. What you'll see is a yellow dot that indicates her she's gazing, and then in the upper right corner of the video, you also see an image of what her eye looks like. And she looks at a squirrel the other side,
Squirrel!
back to looking at the male.
Hello. You have a lovely blue butt, sir.
So the female approaches the male from behind, and he shakes his feathers as she sees the backside of his display, and then he turns to face her. She looks at the bottom portion of the screen. So the results suggest that the female...
Ah, come on. So, this is the eye motion that the female is making. What is the female looking for in the peacock? Well, what about the tail? Yeah, that's right. Look at that wide band. Yeah. So why do you think these peacocks have these giant, massive tails? The wider it is and the more symmetrical it is, because you notice it keeps going left, right, left, right. If it's wide and symmetrical, that's a hot peacock right there. Okay. Bad peacock porn. Okay, so so if we really wanted to make an augmented peacock, what do we do? Wider, more symmetrical. Okay? So that being said, is this top-down or bottom-up processing? It's always both. I don't think the peahen, female peacock, I don't think the peahen really actually is paying attention to too much of the main details of this. She's not paying attention to all the subtle details of the flower. She's not flowers, I'm sorry, the little dots on the peacock's feathers, whatever those things are called. What is she paying attention to? But what is the gestalt that she's paying attention to? The width, the spread of his feathers. The wider the spread, the more interested the peacock becomes. So it is more top-down than the specific details. It's more top-down. If it were details, she'd be focusing on lots of little tiny points along the way. Okay? And so there's a bunch of these that I put on there. Is there a way to pause stream? That one's educational, so that won't cause a copyright infringement. The other ones are sensationalized. End stream. Not yet. Okay. Oh, we'll just see what happens here. Live in large. Copyright infringement number 3. Okay. So this one's actually a little bit more silly. I don't know how to make the links active.
Ready?
Everyone quiet. All right. This is David. Take 1. Take 1. Mark.
This is actually extremely painful to watch, just for the record.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Jamie.
Jamie? David.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How are you?
Great.
Oh, two of them.
Oh, I'm just relaxing. Yeah, so bad.
Let's get past this because it's awful.
My name is David Cooper, and I'm a matchmaker, dating consultant with 3dayworld.com. Seeing the world through somebody else's eyes gives you so much more insight into what's actually happening. So using an eye tracker can actually give you a different perspective on what's really happening. Hey Jamie, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So how did this compare to other days for you?
I really feel like I really got this. Yes.
Did you go on a second date?
No.
On a second date?
It was more like a conversation with a friend. Like I didn't feel any pull.
Okay. I like this one's pretty funny.
Hey, so nice to meet you. How are you?
Alicia.
April, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh my god, I love that color on you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really nice. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I like that color on you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna approach the elephant in the room. So if you watch some of the eye tracker movements of when you first kind of walk in and you're first getting to know each other, she's looking down a lot because it's.
Is that nipple's gonna fall out? Is what the question is.
Where it is so awkward.
Yeah. You can count how many times she looks down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Oh wow.
12, 13? Yeah, it keeps going like this. I have 4 more clips. So is this something you normally wear on a date?
Like I probably should have worn something like maybe that, you know.
Okay, so you get the general idea. Okay, so there's a bunch of other. So the software that they're using, is actually. I found the website because I paused it and I'm reading the side of the thing. You can actually go to the website. You can buy this camera thing. And it sits on and it records your eye motion and the scene in front of you. So it's like a video camera out in front of you, and it records what you're looking at. What they started to do is they started using this research. This actually is a way that people look at depression, by looking at the way that your eyes move across things. And that people who are depressed don't fixate on much. So what do their eyes do? They're constantly moving around, and they don't fixate on things because nothing seems to resonate. So one of the other, of course, being the world that it is, a young lady wore 2 different tops. And this is what, you can start Googling this on YouTube. And it was the Don't Look Down challenge. So one top, she showed lots of boobage. Another top, she showed minimal boobage. And the question was, is how many times did the guys that they were interviewing look at her cleavage? So what do you think? The more boobage that the person was showing, the more of the curve of the breast, the longer the males tend to stare. Well, it's kind of a no Sherlock moment, but what's interesting about this is that did women stare at the same things that guys did? No. I think this is actually the site, and you can see the next one down there. Yeah, I posted this link, all the image that the screen background is. But okay, so yes. And it's so if things resonate with males and females, whether it's a sexual attraction thing or just a resonant look thing. Okay? So men are pervs, women are gold diggers, eye tracking technology. Okay? And so we can watch the little clips here. So they did this with a bunch of different men from a bunch of different places. But is this picture overly boobed anyway? Do they look natural or look augmented? Augmented. There's probably either some push-up or some plastic involved with the breast region. Or yes, or Photoshop up the wazoo. And so again, this is a male from France. There's another male from France. He seems to be much more interested in the crotchal region. Yeah, okay. And also the menus up in the top. British guy. Brazilian guy looking at the elbow. That's so weird. Wow, look at those elbows. Yeah, the size of the dot means the longer that resonated. Okay? So we escape. We don't have to go through the rest of those. You get the idea. So the women, crotchal, boobs, ring, boobs, face, earrings. So they tell the people, look at the picture. Okay? And so by telling, oh look, anyway. So they tell people, what I fixate on? Oh, me. Okay. But they tell the person, just look at the picture. And whatever their eyes tend to focus on is where they're interested in. Because the camera records where their eye is focusing on. And so the camera that measures the aspect position of the eye relative to the position of the camera in space. And there's a lot of really cool stuff with the same camera device where they had people go to art museums and looking at famous artists and what draws the person's eye to a particular piece of art. There's all sorts of really neat stuff on there. I think that's the last link on here. But this is the one where it's the not safe for work, but whatever. Okay, so I'm getting another copyright infringement for this one. Without actually having to play this video, can you figure out exactly what this is going to be? Well, okay, wait a second. Nipple by number. Device help plastic surgeons perform 3D nipple tattoos. Oh, let's put a nipple right in the back of your neck. 3D nipple tattoo? Well, why would you want a 3D nipple tattoo? If you've had a radical mastectomy and you want to have a breast that looks relatively normal, you can tattoo a nipple on that looks like a nipple. Right, and then, or if you're transgender and you want to have a more feminine looking nipple, you can tattoo one on. I immediately thought of putting one in the back of my neck for no reason whatsoever. Just put it in your forehead. Okay, so now. Okay, so, but think about this. Is that if you are a plastic surgeon, could you use this technology to build the ideal breast? Or are we going to end up looking like peacocks? She wasn't even here for the peacock part, but is she right? Yeah, because if the ideal is where people tend to focus their attention, then if the greater the aspect ratio means the greater people focus their attention, women are doomed. Or more rounded through the center part. But so what they did...
Eye tracking technology is a technology that allows the computer basically to track where people are looking, whether they're looking at a photo, a photograph, or an object. They can tell where the individual is actually focusing on.
So this technology is used a lot in everything from the military to advertising to where cereal is being put in the grocery aisle. Applying it to plastic surgery was a natural fit. Plastic surgery is a very subjective field in knowing what is good and what is bad. And this allows us to objectify, whether it be a scar, a shadow, a fold, or a crease. And it allows us
to objectify it. But that's exactly what... and it's interesting, but... Okay, so, getting back to the whole point of this whole thing, and I thought that was really fascinating because attention really is where your brain resonates. Why you pay attention to certain things and why you don't. And whatever resonates, whatever starts that frequency happening is where your attention becomes focused. Okay, and I just remembered that human sexuality. What determines the difference between man and woman? What can you see immediately that determines whether someone is masculine or feminine? Well, why do people spend a lot of time staring at faces? Nope. Faces activate things called mirror neurons. You have mirror neurons in your parietal lobe that respond to people's faces. These mirror neurons allow you to feel what other people are feeling. If you walk in and someone smiles and gives you a wave, your brain immediately smiles back. If you feel comfortable with the person, like at least you walked in, you give me a smile, hi, I'm like, yay! Versus a straight, when the currently undomiciled woman came in, I said, good morning, and she's like, hi, and it was a very hollow hi back. And I'm like, whoa, who's that? I don't recognize every single student I have in all of my classes. How come I knew that something was on? The way her face responded when I said hi. Like, anybody know Xavier and Moses? Basketball twins on campus? Yeah. I can't tell them apart. Yeah, and they don't let you know. Yeah, they're good about that. So, basketball guy. I said, hello, Xavier and Moses. And they both walked by. Dang it, give me some hint. Nope. Okay, and Xavier was in my class, and Moses I see him in the hallway occasionally. I'm going to figure out how to discriminate between the two. That I will. Anyway, but when you say hi, the person who recognizes you should respond back differently than the person who doesn't. So you should be able to tell by the way that their face reflects back. Yeah, say it again. Yeah, it doesn't work for me now because I've seen both of them enough times together that I'm like, crap. But the idea is that when you have these mirror neurons, you resonate emotions. Top down or bottom up? Top down. You look at someone in the eyes and you get their emotions through their eyes. When someone does not have any emotions in their eyes, we use the word crazy. The person is cracked or broken. When someone stares at you and they're looking through you. Has anybody ever had a conversation or someone seemed like they were talking to you, but they were talking on the phone instead? It's a very bizarre, disconnected feeling. I remember when they first started making Bluetooth headsets. Yes, I remember that. This girl was talking outside of a class I was actually teaching at Grossmont, and she's full on having a conversation, and she asked a question, and I answered her question, and she looked at me and goes, "I'm sorry?" And then I saw the earpiece. I'm like, oh. Luckily, my life is generally awkward, so for me, it's like, yeah, same thing, different day. But at the same time, it's one of those, when the face doesn't reflect back, it doesn't resonate the emotions, you have that pause, that uncomfortable kind of feeling. That's why we have these mirror neurons in our face. So the question is, okay, I'm just going to give you the answer because why do we resonate with things? So motor programs. Have you been brain beaten into what a motor program is? We call them something differently in psychology until you get past physio. We call them behaviors. But literally, a motor program is it's a sequence of muscles firing. So what's nice is your brain, without going into physio, it's complicated. Your brain has a series of programs that you learn through childhood. These series of programs, some of them are even ingrained. Humans don't have too many ingrained motor programs. Some animals have some amazing ingrown motor programs. Like, anybody know how they teach baby birds to fly? They kick them out of the nest. The ones that can't fly right away do what? Die. It's kind of survival of the fittest for birds flying. Every so often you find little birds that have been kicked out of the nest and they're just kind of flopping around on the ground, not able to fly. The cats go like, "Thank you," and go eat those first. Then it's challenge accepted for the rest of us. But we've rescued a couple little doves in our neighborhood, which I wish we hadn't, because we put them up in the tree again, and now they come back and roost in that part of the tree all the time and crap all over the front of our house. That's what we get for saving the damn little bird. But I do, but they poo. Get a big stuffed cat and put it up there. We'll poo on that instead. Okay. But, so what's interesting about these little birds is once they figure out the sequence of motor programming, they fly. And they actually don't have to think about flying, they just do it. So what we have is a series of motor programs. They're gone through your childhood, through your learning. And once these motor programs are present, all we have to do is trigger one of these motor programs. We have to trigger it. So at the beginning of class, I started out with I've lost both of them. I lost both my balls right now. Okay. So I threw 2 balls at the lady that was standing there, and I told her to catch which one. Catch the blue squishy one. Ignore the other one. So how does she know which motor program to follow? I gave her directions, and so when I threw them opposite, she's tracking it with her eyes, and what is she doing with the other one? Ignoring it. So attention is the ability to resonate frequencies in your consciousness so that you can then change the behavior that's being associated with that resonance. So what is attention deficit then? Attention deficit is no filter. Well, me too. I'm horrible at filtering. If I have to get a lot of work done, I need to close myself up in a space where there's no one else around. Well, yeah, I mean, I have lots of bicycle projects that need finishing right now, and I really like to finish them, but at the same time is I keep them in the shed, and I keep the shed closed until I finish my grading. There's still about 15 or 20 left in my online class that I didn't finish grading this weekend. Okay, and I blame the broken dryer on that. The new dryer we bought last week, it died. Oh yeah, I brought it back. We got another one. So they felt bad, so they gave me the next model up for the same price as the lower model, which was nice. And that one works very nicely now, except the door is facing the wrong way because it opens this way. I can flop it. It just requires me unscrewing and rescrewing things. And whenever I screw and unscrew, I really screw up. And you get something cross-threaded and just... The fact that it took so long to just get what we got, I'm not staying there any longer. I will mess with it myself at some point this spring break. Or if we all coronavirus, then I can take another extra week off and get all the home stuff that I need to get done being sequestered at their house. Which sounds awful. But I will still live stream it. You can enjoy your educational experience from home. Ah, well, I'm an extrovert, so for me, being around people is what's invigorating that. Okay, so the fact that whenever you are trying to resonate things, all it's doing is triggering motor programs. Triggering a motor program. So the reason we have attention, the reason you have selective attention, or you don't pay attention to something, what does that mean? It's not activating this motor program. If something activates a motor program, then it becomes useful. And so this comes back down to this stupid... The reason why we all need to have behaviorism before we take this class. So I'm going to write up a formula up here that you really need to start paying attention, especially with our short-term memory coming up. Raise your hand if you're in a short-term memory group. 1, 2, that's it here today? 3, That was good short-term memory. Okay. So you guys are going on Wednesday, correct? $16? Okay, we'll do an activity next time. I just want to make sure. Let me hold on. It says, oops, wrong class, that's research methods. Still need to log in. 1 second. I had it for Wednesday, but I can rearrange. I know now. But, so, okay, good. Yeah, you're net week. Oh, we got more time than I thought. I thought we had a Wednesday. Okay, so on Monday next week, the 16th. Okay, good. Now, spring break is coming up much faster than you might think. Yeah. Because it doesn't stop. But you can, if you just work ahead, you can be done. I know you're behind. I wasn't going to say that out loud. Yeah, but you can use the time to catch up. Yeah, that's all right. I accept it and take full responsibility. I always give you a, yay, you got it done. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, don't worry about it. I'll send an announcement about that out today. Okay. If you're online that night. Okay, cool. I was expecting you guys to do this. Okay, so we have time to do this one. So, Why did she say okay? Hey Google, you okay? Keep daddy. Okay. So now, so I'm going to write this formula up here, and if you've taken my intro class, you know this. No, this is seriously important. Okay. This formula is a really important formula to understand the nature of the way that we choose behaviors. It's beautiful. According to this, it's called the law of effect. The way we choose a behavior has a lot to do with the stimuli in our environment. So this is a couple weeks worth of behaviorism consolidated down into about 22 minutes. But anytime you have a stimulus that is presented following a behavior, it adjusts. Oops. Anytime you have a stimulus presented following a behavior, this little symbol means therefore the 3 dots, it changes behavioral probability. So anytime you have a stimulus that follows a behavior, it changes a particular behavior's probability. So we use this term in this class as choice. Choice. This is your choice. How do you make a choice? Change, yeah. Chang, actually, he's my pediatrician. Yeah. So how do you make a choice? It's not the response you get from doing it, it's the stimuli present in the environment. Your behavior operates on its environment. So we can start labeling these stimuli. There's lots of different ways to label stimuli. One of the easiest ways to understand stimuli means an S plus or an S minus. This stands for reinforcement. Yep. And we'll get to what that really means in a couple seconds here. But the reason why I really think behaviorism you should embrace behaviorism before you embrace this class is because the reason you have sensation and perception is to identify stimuli in your environment. The reason that you have stimuli in your environment is some stimuli tell you that you need to change your behavior. Anytime you have an S plus, we call this a discriminative behavior, or stimulus, sorry. Delta, yeah, change, or Illuminati. Okay, so I'll say that again. The reason why stimuli exist in our environment as we see them, why certain things resonate, stimulus, is so that they can affect behavior. What if there are stimuli that don't affect behavior? Not a minus. We'll talk about that in a second. But is like the color of the guy's pants on the flickering thing that you guys showed, the change blindness, is that a discriminating stimuli? No, because it doesn't get your attention. What about the one where they walk by with the sign and the guy changes? Half the time, they didn't notice because the person themselves was not a discriminating stimuli. What was the discriminating stimuli of the situation? Right, getting the directions was the discriminating stimuli. That was the stimuli that allowed the person to proceed in that environment. And as soon as you change the stimuli, we can see which are the actual stimuli that are there. Now, what is an S minus then? We use the term avoidance. Okay, so we have S pluses and S minuses in our environment. So an S plus is a discriminated stimuli that allows us to see things, notice things, change behavior. What would an S minus be? Or it doesn't have it's the thing that you're not trying to look for. Yeah, it's more the fact that it's, okay, so we can use the example with, I don't want to be sexist on this, because with the girl staring at the other girl's boobs just as much as the guys are staring at the boobs, at the dating scene they were. Yeah, well, he was, what the hell was that outfit anyway? It's like a tracksuit that's like 6 sizes too small. Or attention seeking, one of the two. Now, but it's the same, yeah. So my son walks out of his room yesterday. We got him this terry cloth, like almost velour bathrobe. We went to J.C. Penney's like right before Christmas, and they had all this really random crap on sale upstairs. It was really kind of fun. We all got matching red long sleeve T-shirts to wear Christmas morning, matching Christmas candy. We went to Valley. And it was, so we found this giant velour robe. And I swear, if it looks like one of those Hugh Hefner robes that you see, like from the 1950s. He's pretty hip with it. He walks out wearing that and his fancy Ethica underpants the other day. I'm like, dude, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. He goes, yep, it's Saturday. He was dressed earlier. He actually took off his clothes to wear his robe. My boy, so proud. Was that a discriminating stimulus or an avoiding stimulus? That's an S plus. It was so funny. Good morning. Okay, so he took off his clothes to wear his robe. Ah. So I'm going to draw what's called an excitation gradient. Now, this is actually, again, hard to understand without taking the behaviors in class. But an excitation gradient means, what's the reward value for a stimulus? Okay, what's the reward value? So, the easiest way to understand this is rats pressing levers, but it's the least way to actually conceptualize it in your whole real life. But so, if I give you a stimulus, if I say, when I play a 440 hertz tone, I'll give you $1. Right? Are you going to learn what a 440 hertz tone sounds like? I guess you can. Well, then you're not getting $1. That's what I just heard. Okay. Okay, that's a bit loud. Okay, so let me zoom down here. Still really picking up. Okay, so that is the standard quote tone. It's what we tune a lot of crap to. Sure. So now that's what it says at least. So, okay, close your eyes. Is that the same tone? No. So if I go back over here, the percentage of people who would think that that's 440 is very small, because that was 21 hertz. Is 21 hertz easy to tell the difference between 21 hertz and 440 hertz? I apologize in advance. You have migraines, plug your ears. I don't want there. I want double. Oh, fine. This will be annoying. Is that 440 hertz? No, and that's up here at 1400 hertz or whatever it was. 1352, obviously. So the probability of you guessing that's 440 is extremely low because is it very easy to tell the difference between 1400 and 21? Yes, they're very low. But what if I put in, close your eyes. I think I can actually type through here. Cool, I can. What? Excitation. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to play the 440 again. Okay, that's the tone you're listening for. Close your eyes. With your eyes open, it's easy. Oh. No wonder you go X. Now, that's fine. Okay, so that was 428. How many people could hear a difference? So 428 is about a third of you could hear a difference. So we start looking at, as we get further away from the tone, the easier you can say, that's not the tone. The closer we get to the actual tone, what happens? It's harder to discriminate. If you have a good ear, there are some people in here who have what's called perfect pitch. I don't know if you have perfect pitch or not. Yeah, perfect pitch means that you hear the notes better than everybody else. And if you don't have perfect pitch, all the notes generally sound about the same. But if you do have perfect pitch, you hear each note much better. Okay, so what happens if I ask you to learn what a particular frequency is? Then I tell you I want you to ignore another frequency. This is an excitation gradient, right? I'm going to ask you to ignore a different frequency. This one. Okay? So I'm going to play a 600 hertz frequency. Oh, 500. Cookie sharp. Ah! Sorry. Keep that close. Okay, can you hear that? So then I'll put this one up here. Can you hear a difference between 600? So if I teach you both of those frequencies, so you can hear each one, play them back and forth, play them back and forth, does it make it easier to hear 440? So, okay, close your eyes. Which one's that? Good. What's that? Very good. $600, good. Okay, so you gotta say it louder here, because otherwise I'm getting bored. Don't give it away, just shut up. That's positive teaching. Oh, 4,400, we don't want that, sorry. Something as interesting as what I can do is I can, unless you have perfect pitch, that's why I said don't give it away, I can slowly increase the top tone. You don't notice. Unless you happen to have perfect pitch, then it's irritating. No, because I can go all the way up. Close your eyes. No, I'm not going to go to like, I'm not going to go supersonic. So if I keep playing 440, in between tones, but I can start moving this up by 20 and 30 hertz, and unless you have perfect pitch, most people won't notice. Why? Well, what is your reference point? Well, no, but our 440 is a relative curve. Our excitation gradient's a relative curve. So what happens is we get something called peak shift. So I don't know what a peak shirt is, but okay, it's a pink shirt. It's pink. Okay. In other words, I can go all the way up to 618, 620, and if I do this enough times, and we'll explain your perfect picture in a second. If you don't have good pitch, I could go up by 20 or 30 hertz, and you still think that's the same sound. The way musical instruments have changed, the notes have changed, the instrument metals have changed, and there's some symphony that plays music the way it was originally written, not how it's been transposed over modern music. And like Bach sounds different if you play it with instruments that are made at the time. Our family owns a violin that was built in 1760, 1770, and they use it to play at Baroque festivals because it was made when the music that they were playing was written. So when you play the music on the instrument that was made at the time, it sounds like it should have been played versus on a modern violin, which doesn't sound the same. I don't know. That's for the violinist to perform. Anyway, if anybody wants to buy it, it's for sale. Now, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna go through this. I'm gonna go through this again with a slightly different example. Okay. So how do you decide whether somebody's a male or female or not? Okay, but you got to be more specific because we need to decide. I'm going to use the example that we used, that they used for looking at the images up here. Okay, so I'm going to draw a person here. How do you decide if that's male or female? But what? Because that's too general. Okay, so one of the things, so if I draw a stick figure that have longer legs, well, I'm drawing it. Why would I exaggerate it? Males and females, if I say S plus, identify the female. In other words, you're trying to identify the female. The female becomes the discriminating stimuli. What female do you find first? Not the average, the one that is the furthest away. The Barbie female. No, but again, think about this. So males and females are very similar. If you actually measure, and I've measured lots and lots of people over the years, for my stats course, not for my own personal entertainment. That's just weird. It's just, well, moving on. Now, but I actually just printed out 100 rulers for my introduction to sight students to measure their fingers. Yeah, okay, moving on. So if I take whatever is the most different, is that easy to tell the difference between that and 600? Okay. Okay. So the difference between the low tone and the high tone, the greater the difference, the less their excitation gradient, inhibition gradient overlap. So let's go back to the word resonance. Okay. If I say, when I saw his weight belt, and I have opinions about weight belts, okay? So when I see his weight belt, it resonates. In other words, I have an excitation gradient for what that is. I always troll around Craigslist looking for old bicycles that are interesting and unique and weird. And people often will sell them and don't know what they're selling, and I'll buy them and keep them in my shed and sell them for about half of what I bought them for. That's what I do. Anyway, so the guy had this really cool one up in Murrieta, and I'm not driving up to Murrieta to buy a bicycle today or tomorrow, not this weekend either. Yeah. Anyway, and but the forks were on backwards. Why did I notice the forks were on backwards? Because it resonates. The way it should look goes into my brain and has an excitation gradient. If something's wrong, very subtly wrong, the forks are straight on this bike. So they're not, you can't tell by the way they're bent, it's where the brakes are that matter. And then most brakes are on the front of the forks, but this is a child's bike, the brakes are on the back of the forks, and they were on the front of the forks in this guy's bike. You don't know. But it resonated because I have a concept in my head. The concept, which we talk about later in the semester, has an excitation gradient. But when something is different outside of that concept, it causes me to pause. It draws my attention to that. Because it doesn't resonate. The lack of resonance is what causes it to trigger. Yeah. Yes. So this is when we talk about OCDs, you have a very, okay, pause. Statistics, no, it goes right in that line, but it helps explain excitation gradient. The more exposure you have with something, people who have had stats last semester, what happens to the shape of a distribution? What are these shapes called, by the way? They're bell curves, or we call them normal distributions, but that's okay. But their kurtosis increases. It becomes leptokurtic. With the higher the N, my excitation gradient gets really small. So his ear has a very narrow excitation gradient for each frequency. Okay, so you might want to plug your ears for this. Right. We're going to start down low. Okay. Listen. Okay. If you keep your eyes closed, listen if you can hear the pure frequency. Wait for it. Wait for it. Can you hear where it goes, and then it gets kind of muddled and again? With that, when it gets louder, it's not changing volume. It's lining up with the hair cells in your ear. When it lines up with the hair cells in your ear, it sounds louder in your head. Sorry if that was annoying. Okay. I had to go to a concert on Friday. I hate it. Sorry. It was so loud. Turn it down so we can hear the individual differences of the music, not just Sorry. Anybody else, when you go to a concert, just want to play the instruments and not actually be in the audience going, woohoo, with all the drunk people? When there's a virus and a plague going on right now, and I'm with a bunch of other people going, yeah, I hate this. Okay. The beer was good, so that's all we have. Okay. No, we went out for dinner first. Yeah. And they didn't have any food that I could eat there, so it's like, I had to. That was fun. And the concert was still awful. It wasn't awful. It was awful. Okay. No, it's yacht rock. Anybody ever gone to the yacht rock thing? It's like a bunch of like 70s music, and the singer wasn't very good, and the saxophone guy was great, but all he did was like play one note, and everybody goes, ah! Like, yeah, not music. Okay, sorry. So, if you have a good discriminating ear, or my physio class tomorrow, we're going to be testing noses. And so if you have a good discriminating nose, very subtle differences between aspects of stimuli you can hear. But this is called discrimination. I know, opposite. This is called discrimination. What if you have a very low N? If you have no music ability whatsoever, any frequency, you go, sound, sound, sound. Yay! My wife has got no ear. Her whole family has no musical ear. Zero. So listening to my wife's kindergarten class sing, my wife singing along happily, multi-tonal, multi-interesting. Wendy Yoshinaga, if anybody had her as a, anybody here go to Creekside Elementary? Oh, anyway. Wendy Yoshinaga is an amazing musician, and her kindergarten class, she would tune them. Can kids sing a tune? Yes, perfectly, because they don't know not to. And so her class would sing, and it's like little angels. My wife's like, rah, 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 rah. Awful. Okay. Oh, just minions. Yeah. Okay. So basically, depending on the frequency of observation, the number of observations you have depends on the shape of the discrimination curve. Okay, so now we can talk about your OCD. Wait till he's done texting. Now we can talk about your OCD. Yeah. Okay. So, see the attention shift? And that's the attention shift is what's really fascinating. When you're texting, did you hear what I said? Yeah. Because you're filtering out all the noise outside of what you're focusing on. And that's the whole point of attention, is how do you choose which motor program? It's really hard, especially for someone with attention deficit, to text and do anything else. Hey Google, send a text to Caleb. Ask him if his phone's on.
So, that's a message to Caleb Weiner saying if his phone's on.
Oh, the only thing is now it doesn't voice unlock anymore.
Okay, I can help you with your phone's voice detection.
Shut up! Okay.
Is it okay if I check a few things?
Okay. Just because I don't understand. Okay. But, so, I use the voice text a lot because it's a, okay. I use the voice text a lot because I can't do two motor programs at once to save my life. So think about it, think about OCD. What do you start to discriminate? Well, no. Most people with obsessive compulsive disorder, I have a lot of obsessive compulsive behaviors. Like I'm playing with my glasses. I do the same thing all the time when I play with my glasses. I hold them the same way. I hold the pen the same way. When I have the markers, when I used to write on the whiteboard, I used to stick my fingers in the caps and hold the caps on my fingertips all the time. And yeah, you've seen me do that lots of times. When I was in high school, or I taught high school, that's when I was in high school, I would always keep markers and pens behind my ear. Always. And so those little behaviors, why do they become go-to repetitive behaviors? Well, if you have a behavior to choose, it makes the effort of choosing much less. So, which can be reinforcing. So think of all the different possible behaviors that you can do. I know lots of you get stressed because I do, so therefore you must. And you end up walking in circles not knowing where to start. Like, me making dinner in our house is just a crack up. Just because everybody's needing something, and I've got a recipe and I've got a plan. We're really psychotic about our diet right now. It's really actually kind of fun because we're making some really tasty food. But it requires like effort versus boil stuff, eat stuff, you boil. Yay. Miss potatoes. Okay, but it is, but it's nuts because it takes so much mental energy. And the thing is, like, I have like 4 different things going at one time, trying to balance all of them so that everything gets done at the same time so you're cooking. There's a really great documentary about Japanese chefs and how they prepare a proper traditional Japanese meal. Has anybody ever been to a Japanese high tea in here? Nobody? It's insane. It's like everything is regimented down to like the second, and you bring this out, you do this, and then you do this, and then this is ready, and then that's ready, and everything is like choreographed out to the nth degree. And I watched the documentary on this because it was so freaking amazing. That's not me at all. So when we talk about people that are we use the word conscientious means that you follow very high discriminating values. You resonate very quickly with very specific things. Versus someone who's low conscientious, what do you resonate with? Well, no, not nothing. A very wide range. That was a terrible standard deviation. I'm sorry. There you go. You resonate with a wide range of things, and that's okay. And so it's funny because Dr. Salazar, who couldn't be here because her dog was sick, but she asked me to cover a class last minute for her. Says, hey, I've got to go. Can you cover this class last minute? I'm like, sure. Because spontaneous, low conscientiousness things are right up my alley. Because I live in a much more generalized world versus a very discriminative world. This is my space. That is other people's space. So wait a second. People who discriminate a lot, are they bottom up or top down? Bottom up. People who generalize a lot are top down. Okay, so I'm almost out of time, but I want to make sure we finish this idea. Why do we think of, if I change these two distributions, let me change this one to blue. If I set this S minus as being male, and this S plus, color consistency. This S plus as being red, as being female, it is red because I just saying red and Stroop effect myself. I can make a Stroop effect joke. Can you guys get it? Okay. So what's the only way to tell the difference if about 50% of males and 50% of females look the same? Because do a lot of females look masculine? A lot of them. And a lot of males look feminine. So what's the only way to determine if someone is male or female? The easiest way to determine if someone is male or female. Well, why do we stare at the boobies? Some do, but some don't. Well, no, but some do and some don't. But do very many men have big boobies? No. Okay, I'll do some push-ups and I'll get bigger. But wait a second. So we stare at the breastal region because there are very, very, very few men with large boobs. There are more women with boobs. I'm trying to draw cleavage. Give me a minute. There we go. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'll be all right. So, try to feel. So, but again, why does a peacock stare at the wide? Well, the wider it is, the less probability that it's a peahen. If it's a little narrow, that could be another hen. The wider it is, though, the probability that it is a hen goes down. So the bigger the curvatures, the lower the probability that it is male. So the smaller the breast, the more higher probability that it is a male. So why did my friend who is transitioning from female to male transgender, why did the first surgery he had was to remove his breast? He can walk around with his shirt off and no one seems to care. If he walked around with his shirt off with boobs, Nobody really cares, but some pious people get really upset. Whoa, you're being sexualized. It's hot out. Okay. That really went sideways, but it's okay. It's kind of works.